Leadership rarely fails in dramatic moments. It erodes in quiet ones. A decision deferred, a standard left undefined, a misalignment acknowledged, but not really addressed. None of these feel like mistakes at the time. They feel reasonable, temporary, pragmatic, what you gotta do. But leadership keeps a ledger. What isn't resolved doesn't disappear. It compounds. This episode, Anish and I are going to talk about leadership debt, the hidden costs of postponed conversations, blurred standards, and delayed clarity, and how culture doesn't break overnight, it weakens gradually through what leaders choose what to confront and what not to confront. So with that, this is The Art of Commerce. I'm Jinx Joglekar.
I'm Anish Raul.
And let's get into it.
The Art of Commerce is a podcast featuring conversations on creativity and conversions. Hosted by Anish, a data-obsessed creative director, and Jinx, a growth-obsessed CMO. Listen on for actionable insights for the modern marketer.
What an excellent topic for this week's episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. You brought this one up to me and I was like, you're so right. And we think about it in our personal lives, right? Like we think about the compounding of things we've done, and we got to be transparent, and we got to say what's on our mind, and be candid, and respectfully so, but be there. And sometimes we forget that in the business setting because we're moving fast.
That's true.
And we've talked about it on other episodes, and it's, hey, this is a need to know. It's a need to know. You're on a need to know basis, and that's true, but not confronting the why someone needs to know or doesn't, not confronting why you're making a decision, not confronting things like microaggressions and things that are happening could be detrimental to the business.
And things rarely break overnight. It's always like good things compound.
Yeah.
Bad things also compound, and systems over time they just degenerate.
Yeah. No, that's right. It's again, to me, this whole thing is really about, and I hate to use the like a cliche, but it's about candor, and some might call it radical candor, but that's what it's about. It's about like being honest with yourself and being honest with your team, and creating a relationship and a culture where you can be honest. I mean, we've talked about it so many times where, the best teams have healthy tension, right? When we talked to Mario Ciabarra from Quantum Metric, right? He said him and his co-founder were like yelling at each other, like the drag down, screaming matches or drag out scream, whatever you call it, and but they're friends. Like they're not angry at each other. They just believe their ideas are good, and so you want good ideas to win, and so you can't do that if you have a culture where I can't speak up. You can't do that if somebody raises an objection and you say, we'll get to that later, and you never get to it, and so look, like I keep saying, we're not sitting on the mountain here, we are climbing with everybody, so we make the same mistakes as everybody, and I've done that, and it could it's continued something to work on, but the goal, the aspiration is create a environment and a culture of candor, and then that way you're not leaving things unsaid, and you're addressing things as they come up. And honestly, you're addressing things in the timeliest way, because sometimes you do need things to cool off.
That's true.
You sometimes bringing it up in the moment isn't great, but you'll know when. And the team has enough trust to say, yeah, that was a tough interaction, but we know we'll get through it, and we know we'll come back and talk about it. And back to my sports analogy, review the tape and make the plays better moving forward.
Oh, this is awesome. Hey, that intro was fantastic, and I'm looking forward to hearing what kind of thinking prompts you have for us in this episode. So you want to take us away?
Yeah, sure. Not all leadership debt compounds at the same speed.
I've heard of IT debt, technological debt in companies. What is leadership debt?
Yeah, so it's a great question because we said it a couple times now. So to me, leadership debt is really when you don't face things head on, right? When you left things unsaid, there's a fissure that happens in a team. There's a in the culture of a team. There's a fissure that happens in the relationship of a team. There's a fissure that happens in the relationship with you as a leader and your ability to inspire and lead and motivate. And what leadership debt is that the scope and aperture, for lack of a better term, of that fissure, right? As that fissure becomes a crack and the Grand Canyon, that's the debt, right? And the debt's not insurmountable in the beginning because a fissure can be filled. You can fill a crack. You can put stuff in it. Even when it gets bigger, you put dirt in it, right? Keep that analogy going. But when it's the Grand Canyon, you can't fix that. And so that's why I love this concept is because it's not irreversible. We all make mistakes. We all cause fissures. Like, again, we're not on the mountain. We're climbing it together. But you have to recognize it so that you can fix it. That's the biggest thing to me. If you don't recognize it, if you don't address it, if you don't fix it, you're going to have that Grand Canyon moment and your team's far gone. Or they've either quit or you just don't hold the motivational aspects you need to actually lead that team.
Right. Yeah. I've never looked at it the way you just described it. Like, yeah, many times small deviations in the road are just a degree or two. But unless you correct it immediately, things are just so far wide.
Yeah.
It's maybe you pass the point of no return.
That's right.
Thinking on your journey, reflecting on your journey so far, are there any common themes or buckets which come to mind where most leaders usually take a second or, sometimes take a while to arrive at decisions? Because the more I think about it, leadership deck also sounds a lot like decision deck. You just sometimes making some decisions or just putting them off long enough where it creates some fissures. Or am I thinking about it the wrong way?
I think you're right. I'll just say that the reason why it's not just decision and why I think it's leadership debt, it's decision, but it's also relationship. So for example, you asked about buckets. So one of the buckets I always think about is you have a conflict on a team, whether it's with you, right. Is someone to get along with you, or even outside of the team, right? Someone to get along with you outside of the team, or even people within the team that aren't you. And you just let it go. You don't get them in a room and say, guys, like, let's figure out how we could work better together. And sometimes the answer is we won't, it's far gone. And then we should figure out how to do this as leaders, whether it's, we get people on different teams or whatever. But people oftentimes are like, okay, I don't want to deal with that. I got a million other things to do. Let them figure it out. And then that's when that's when culture really, because then this guy's talking behind this person's back. All of a sudden now you've got like warring factions because somebody's backing this person, somebody's backing the other. You're like, dude, and then gossip happens. You're like, dude, what is all I wanted to do was just get through my day because I got 8 million things. I got to go home to my kids. I got to do this. But like you didn't address that thing.
Correct.
And so that thing became the elephant in the room. The elephant sucks out all the oxygen and then blah, 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 blah. Right. So, on to the next. So I think that's a big bucket. And that's why I'd say that's not a decision. I mean,
right,
to your point, it's probably a decision for you to be like, I got to address that. So maybe you're right.
Or I'm not going to do it today.
No, I'm not going to do that's a decision. That's a decision. But to me, it's like a relationship fissure, right? So there are these relationship fissures. There's these decision buckets, right? Like where I'm in now, I don't know what to tell the team. I don't know how to simply tell the team. I don't know how to make this decision and communicate it, right? Like that's what it all boils down to, right? Like because we all know what we need to do, and if we don't, then we have people that we can rely on to give us good points of view. But it's then how do I communicate it? How do I tell somebody? We had hard things. I've had hard things I've needed to do that have impacted people, and whether that be staff reductions, and it's like that's the hardest thing to do.
Conflict resolution,
right? It's hard, but when you have to do those kind of organizational things, whether it's conflict resolution, a couple of people, or whether it's some organizational things you have to do, what I always just try to do is at very least sit down with that group that's impacted, even if their role isn't, nothing's impacted for them, they're mentally impacted. I want to sit down with them and say, okay, here's the why. And here's my true emotion. Here's my authentic emotion about this, which is likely I'm not that thrilled to be doing what I'm doing right now. Like, this is not what I want to do. I would much rather be sitting on a beach and drinking a Mai Tai or whatever. But like, that's not in the cards. Okay. We got to run a business. This is how we're going to do it. And be honest and empathetic and transparent, because the feedback I've gotten is, yeah, we didn't like that. We're not that happy about it, but we also understand why. We understand the why. And because of that, we are still motivated to do good work. Yeah, we might have to take a day to get our head right. It's totally fine. Like, we're humans, but we haven't thrown away the towel, right? We haven't said, forget it, right? And that's the Grand Canyon fissure. When people say, forget it, you're done. You're not motivated. You're not leading. They're not following you into battle. There's nothing. But if you're able to explain, here's why we had to do what we had to do. I'm in this with you. I'm emotional about it, but here's why. They see the transparency. They feel the empathy. They feel it. It's not BS, right? It's real. I mean, if it's BS, don't say it. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, like, then just to be who you are.
Right.
We've talked about that, but for me, it's real. And then you'll find people are motivated to stick with you. And in some cases, maybe even more motivated because they're like, wow, we're all on the same team now. And we know why we're here and we're going to do this.
It's kind of common sense to say like, oh, if you spot a problem, fix it, right?
Yeah.
But as a leader, how do you position yourself in a way that you have the ability to spot problems? Because if you're not aware of it, it's not even on your radar, right? So how do you, and you are excellent at it, right? So why don't you get our listeners, how do you do it? How are you just so aware all the times? Because once you know something needs to be fixed, you'll prioritize it, you'll take the right actions.
Right. Well, so first of all, I mean, it comes with time. So right, as a leader, I mean, I've had the good fortune of leading small teams and then little bigger teams, and like growing up to a larger team, right? And I work on self-awareness and I work on awareness, right? Like, that's what I do. And I think as leaders, we all should. You do not want to be an unself-aware leader. Then you're Michael Scott from The Office, right? If you haven't seen it, like, we can put the clip up. Like, that's him, right? But if you're aware, then you kind of understand what, like, these things that are happening, right? Whether it's relationship, whether it's confusion, whether it's, being stuck in the mud, whatever it is. And then you have to create a culture of people feel okay to voice that to you somehow, right? And it could come from your leaders, your directs. It could come from drive-bys. It could come from, again, if I'm in the office with a team, or even if I'm remote, I do these virtual drive-bys or actual drive-bys where I say, hey, what are you working on? What are we doing? Da-da-da. And then the one-on-ones we talked about a lot, like one-on-ones with everyone on the team. And I know as you get bigger teams, that's difficult. So everyone needs to do what they do. But as the more one-on-ones you can have, the more you understand what's going on the ground, then you'll start to see that you'll pick up on it. And then that's where I've said, okay, now I see something. And then this is where I say to the leader, whether it's my direct or the leader, I say, hey, look, I'm sensing we got something here. How do you guys want to handle this? Right. And by the way, it's a little bit of a tactic, right? Because then I don't have to handle everything sometimes. And that's great.
You're inviting opinions.
And you're inviting opinions, but it allows the culture of, let's get it out on the table. And like, if they want me to jump in, I'm great. But a lot of times I'll be like, no, we don't want you to jump in. We want to handle this. We see it too. And let's do something about it. And honestly, they might have been sitting on it as well.
Right.
So right. It allows everyone to be comfortable. It allows you to give some cushion and, some netting, for lack of a better term, to the team to land on. So they don't feel like they have to own everything.
And suddenly it's an us problem.
Yeah, it's an us.
Not
That's right. That's right. That's the right way to put it. It's an us problem.
Correct.
It's not a you problem. It's not a me problem. It's us, right? And so that's the kind of ways that I've done it. And we haven't addressed everything in the world, but again, we've been able to mitigate some serious friction or serious confusion through those.
I think
tactics.
So. What I'm taking away is show up, be willing to look at things. Right? That willingness is the most important thing, and then connect with as many people as you can till you find some problems to solve. Because I'm sure there's problems to be solved.
Yeah, that's right. No, I mean you hit the nail, and create that environment of we, right? Create the environment of we, and how we solve the problem together. Every leader inherits some debt. That's true. That's a big one.
Because very rarely are you going to be at the very start of a company and see it through.
Or even start of very rarely are you at the start of a company. Very rarely are you starting a brand new function or team. And even when you are,
there's still context of the system that existing.
Exactly. Just like, we talked about another time around the finance and socializing things to people in finance, like
how to win the CFO.
How to win the CFO. Like, I could be starting a brand new team and I still got to win the CFO. So it doesn't matter. You're always got some debt that you have to pay back. Right. And that's kind of why you're a leader. The organization trusts you to understand that debt and pay it off and get the P&L right. You know what I mean?
That's true. So let's say someone listening to us or watching us right now has inherited that kind of debt. What's your advice to them on how do you understand it and then eventually repay it? And
Yeah. So I think, again, the two buckets being a relationship and decision, and the debt you're going to inherit is bad relationships, either with amongst your team, like you've got weird
product versus marketing classic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so even just in the marketing, but then yes, you're exactly. The second piece is relationship outside of the team.
Correct.
Or the third thing is relationship with the previous leader, right? If there was a leader. So that's when the decision debt is, hey, we didn't trust the decision making. We didn't like the way this person came about it. They didn't understand X, Y, and Z. So the external team now is debt to you. The internal team has debt, or you have debt to the internal team, I should say, and all that stuff. So the way to really do it is the same to me, the same approach, which is, really understand what you're getting into. Spend time, like in those first whatever amount of time, like getting to know the team, getting the one-on-ones, getting the deep dives from them, understanding, like having them put together their onboarding, and in their onboarding, create the environment. Say like, let me know what you wanted to do, but you couldn't. Let me know what's failed that you didn't even want to do. We're like, well, why? Why were you asked to do this? Like, this is a safe space. This is not where you need to be defensive, right? And I was talking about a lot, doing some things around positive intelligence and emotional intelligence, and a lot of times we're talking about this idea of judgment versus discernment, right? When you go into a new place, you could do either of those, right? And it's a fine line between them because you're both sensing.
What's the difference?
Yeah, I'm about to get into it. You're sensing what's going on. The difference is judgment has a positive or a negative connotation with it. Like, why did you do that? Why would you do that? Like, I don't understand. Why, right? Whereas discernment actually tries to understand the why and unpack it to say, okay, here's the reason they did it. Okay, might not agree with it, but the reason they did X, Y, Z is because organizationally they had to do this, financially they had to do this, whatever the rationale. And so the real crux, to simplify it, is judgment is not trying to understand the why.
Judgment could be dismissive.
Exactly.
But discernment is inclusive.
Exactly. I love that. Discernment's inclusive because you're asking the why.
And you there's a feeling of trying to work with it.
Right.
Then trying to dismiss it. I'm not going to do this.
That's right. It's like judge's like, why? And discernment's like, well, why?
Right.
Right. Well, why? Okay, now I understand it, right?
Correct.
Judgment doesn't want to understand.
Judgment
just wants to be judgy. Right? Discernment wants to understand. Right. And so, I love what you just said there. That's great. We're going to put that on a t-shirt. Excellent. we got to get this art of commerce merch thing going.
We do.
I know. Okay. We're going to do it. Okay. 2026. We have it on our goals. So anyway, I think it's talking to those guys. I think it's discerning why there's relationship issues. It's discerning why there were decision-making issues. And then it's once you understand that, then you can course correct, because then you can acknowledge it. You say, here are the things we did that we're not going to do anymore, and here's why we're not going to do them. But maybe here's the thing we're still going to do. But now you are going to understand why we're doing them, so that you're on board. And by the way, we may get your input on them, right? And then you feel part of it. Inclusive, to use your word. Like, I think that's how you can do it in this first coming in new. And honestly, I say tell people this all the time. It's like, when you're new, like, don't shy away from the things that you may have otherwise shied away from, because like, you're new.
It's a fresh start.
That's true. It's a fresh start. Our good friend Avinash Kaushik, he did give me advice that when you're new, you take the big bath. right? Like you put it all on the table.
Yes.
Right? I love that term. Like you just put it all on the table and you're like, that wasn't good. We're not going to do it. That was good. We're going to do it. But whatever, you put it all on the table and you shouldn't feel like you have to protect some old thing or you have to justify some old thing. You just have to understand why the things happen and put it out there and say, we're going to do it. We're going to not, but here's how I'm going to make it better. I'm going to be more communicative. I'm going to be more inclusive. I'm going to whatever. And so, anyway, that's, I think, the way you could do it from
That's
the
excellent. I also like how you frame it. It is leadership gag. And what does gag do? Gag is sort of a tax on the things that you can do with your principle. Like always eats away at your principle. Right? And when you contextualize leadership gag in the workplace, if you're not aware of the things that are chipping away at your mental bandwidth and your team's capabilities because of existing friction or any other gag, it's going to eat away at the potential of amazing things that you could be doing together.
You're so right. And actually, as you're saying that, it leads me to, because we're talking a lot about the team debt, but we shouldn't go that you as a leader, you as a person have debt. And I always think about it. So for, I did business school. I took accounting. I'm assuming anybody that goes to business school understands accounting. And maybe people that don't, they just are smarter than me. But there's a concept, and I'm just really simplifying it. So please, all the accounting people, do not email me and tell me I'm wrong. Please. Or do it. It's fine. I actually like it. But there's a concept of assets equal liabilities, right?
Okay.
There's an accounting concept.
Yep.
And I think about that a lot in the personal accounting, right? Meaning, like, I'll use me. High energy, think fast, I talk fast,
act fast.
I act fast, I have some big ideas, blah, 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 right? Those are all strengths, right? Like, people like that. Those are also liabilities. They're also what caused me to maybe be impulsive, maybe talk over people, maybe not hear because I'm too busy moving and I'm too busy being energetic and loud. I'm missing this guy with a really good point over here. So you have to, as a leader, remember your assets are your liabilities. And so you have to, again, lean into your strengths. We've talked about it on the strengths side, lean into the strengths, totally. But understand that they could be liabilities. So when you're talking to certain people or you're trying to do something, you may want to curb some of that because that's a liability in that situation, right? And so that's the personal leadership debt that you have to think about as well. Like that's the debt liability. That's my personal debt. My personal liability is my asset. Oh, that's tough. But that's where self-awareness comes in, right? We use the example, when I was in financial services and I had to talk to the finance guys, or even still, when as a marketer talking to the finance guys, I might not be my normal sales mode, right? I might not be, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, because they're like, dude, I don't want to hear that. Like, bottom line, what's the money? Give me the facts. Like, let me come to the conclusion that it's the best thing since sliced bread. No, you don't tell me. I don't need you. You're right. And that was hard for me to understand in the beginning. But now that you understand it, you're like, okay, that is an asset. But in this setting, it's a liability. So we're going to dial it down.
Well, this whole conversation is an excellent masterclass in just self-awareness.
Yeah.
Right. Excellent insights. Do you want to close us up? Anything that you want to call out to all the leaders, future leaders listening to us right now?
I think, look, we all have a debt, whether it's be on our team, whether it's we're inheriting it, and we use the analogy of fissures, cracks to the Grand Canyon, right? Like, you can fix cracks. You can't fix the Grand Canyon. So we all have it. Like, it's not bad. You're not a bad leader because you have it. You're not a bad person, but just acknowledge it, right? And
first step is become aware of it.
Become aware. And that's what I was going to say is the first step to acknowledgement is, awareness, right? And so you have to be aware of what's going on. You have to have an eye on the team. You have to build a culture of trust. You have to have comfortability for people to raise. Then when you acknowledge it, you have to build a culture of we. How do we address this if possible? Sometimes it's all on you, and that's okay. That's why you're the boss. But a lot of times it's a culture of we. And so you have to think about that from the team perspective. And then lastly, don't forget that you as an individual, and this goes for leaders, but this goes to everybody. Everybody has a personal debt, a leadership debt, because we're all leaders in our own right. And we all have really great strengths, which are assets, And like we learned in accounting, assets equal liabilities. So your strengths are in some cases are going to be your debt. So you have to be self-aware enough to figure out when that's the case and how to modulate. As old mentor of mine used to tell me, modulate the way you approach things so that you overcome that debt. And so I think that's how we can put a bow on this topic. And this was a fun one.
Hey, liever ku ang ex-leren from Chase ku kalkulassing in terms of gigs and assets and really contextualize the modern leadership.
Yeah. Well, I think it's such a great topic. So thanks for bringing this up, Anish. This was a great one.
Awesome. So this was the Art of Commerce. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Tuesday with a very exciting episode once again. If you gain some amazing insights from Jinx in this week's episodes, look him up on LinkedIn, follow him, follow me on LinkedIn, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next week.
That's right. And please, like we say in every episode, if you like this and it resonates, share it with somebody you think may benefit from understanding a little bit more about leadership and leadership debt. We love the feedback, and we love when people reach out and say, hey, I heard about this from a friend and I really like it. So anyway, share, like, subscribe.
Send this video to your favorite marketing leader.
There you go.
Yeah, tell us what you think.
He's always the one that says it the best. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.
This is The Art of Commerce, featuring conversations on creativity and conversions. If you found value in today's episode, follow the show, leave a review, and stay tuned for more insights for the minds reshaping modern marketing.